Hello everybody, my name is Rob and I'm here with my lovely partner in crime, Miss Likens.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I am great. We're all really excited to be here and super excited to have you show us all this wonderful stuff that we are going to be learning about erotica.
Correct.
So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go through this system, and it is sort of going to be the system that we taught inside the PDF that you guys got. We're going to go into detail about it. We're going to go detail about how you write erotica that is perfectly in sync with this system, and we're going to, Miss Likens is going to talk about her experiences, and then so we're going to go through all of the theory, and then what we're going to do at the end of the webinar, or maybe towards the middle perhaps, we're going to role play a little. And that's going to be hilarious because I'm going to play the client, she's going to be the author, and then I'm basically going to be a client that gives her suggestions of what I would like to be written for me, and then we're going to plot that out. It'll be great fun. I'm looking forward to doing that. Before we dive right in, I do want to say that obviously this is going to be very graphic, all right? Sexual fun, violence, drugs, rock music, swearing, and general naughtiness. If you have children about that you would prefer not hear such things, if you're sitting in an office environment where your boss is wondering what kind of weird porn you're getting into, you probably would be best if you waited to watch the replay, or if you could just tell your boss that if he shuts the door, he doesn't need to hear this, he's too young. That would probably would be a good idea.
Let's take a moment, plug your headphones in, let's get started.
Yep, all right, so that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to cover, asking your clients fucking questions, and literally, because this is about sex, and so we thought that title was a bit cute. So what we're going to cover the genre, relationships, and kinks, kind of starting out how you start this process. But when it comes to erotica, there are three primary genres. So romance, erotica, and erotic romance. So, all right, so Ms. Likens, how would you define romance?
Well, romance, Rob, is genuinely the basically it's either a couple or couples. They go through a storyline. It's like a plot. They fall in love. There's a build up, and it's not really around a sexual environment. These characters can have a sexual environment, but it's not the main focus point. This focus is that these characters are falling in love.
Right, and so what you're saying is basically like, because we're dealing with fan fiction, we're dealing with erotica, there will be a sex scene in it, but the sex scene might more be like love making and not porno pounding.
That's right.
Okay, all right, so that's kind of the big difference then. Of course,
it's HBO, not Pornhub.
It's HBO, not Pornhub. Gotcha. That's perfect. Perfect there. Okay, so erotica then I'm assuming would be the exact opposite.
Absolutely. Erotica is an individual's sexual journey is the whole point. There is a slow build to kind of get the character or the client involved, like, oh, where are they going with this? And then it moves to the whole sex scene.
Right. Cool. So obviously that would be then not HBO. It would Pornhub.
Absolutely.
Now, and she said a key point here, and she's emphasized this to me several times. You do not jump straight into the sex.
You don't.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll deal with that here in just a minute. Okay. So erotic romance, sort of in between.
Yeah, absolutely. Erotic romance is, I guess the best way to describe it is like you say you're going online and you're dating someone, and you might have sex a couple times, then you build a relationship with them, and then it kind of moves on to that. There's sex and romance involved. It's kind of like it goes hand in hand with each other.
Right. Cool. Awesome. And I just noticed if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the question box because of the sort of stress we had starting off with the audio issues. I did forget to mention this. We will get to your questions if they're relevant to what we're currently talking about, or at the very end, if we don't get to them, we will cover them all at the very end of the webinar. So, yeah, anyway, so what you were saying, erotic romance then is basically kind of an in-between sort where there's a crossover, right? All right, so relationships. Now, this is the relationships the client is wanting you to produce.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so how do they want the characters to interact and mingle? And of course, just like any other written story, there's a bazillion and one ways.
Right. It basically comes down to the client and their needs and what they want with these characters.
For sure, for sure. Cool. All right, and again, we mentioned this, and we want to mention it again because I don't know. We really feel that it's important that there's no kink shaming. Does the client have any specific interests? No kink shaming. So, all right. So, how do you deal with a situation where you are not comfortable with writing? You're grossed out by whatever it is they're suggesting. How would you handle that?
Okay, guys, this is where it really boils down to making your lists of things that you find acceptable. And if there's things that maybe make you a little uncomfortable with writing, or you can put them in subcategories, it's okay to say no. It's absolutely fine. But don't try to stress the point that it makes you really uncomfortable. Just tell your client, hey, I'm not really comfortable with writing that. Or if you maybe are a little more uncomfortable and you're like, you can write it, you can charge them a little bit more.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get...
But don't try to... These people are coming to you for a need, and this is an open market, if you will. So don't try to, I guess, abuse your clients.
But right, of course. So don't make fun of them. Just politely decline if you're feeling uncomfortable, or suggest possibly that you might need to charge. That you might be willing to do it for an additional cost.
Absolutely.
All right. So some basic stuff that we just wanted to start off with. So here's some other things that we need to consider as well when we're starting off sort of doing this. Talking money. Now, you say here, have a list of commission prices.
Absolutely.
And be as specific as possible. I'm assuming that there's been situations where you as an author were sort of given a task and you didn't really know what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, starting out, I was kind of just going in blind.
Right.
I was just making prices that I thought were comfortable, and maybe the client was like, I don't really understand how we're going about this, and so I had to talk to other fan fiction authors and figure out like what's the best way to price these things. So basically, it boils down to you. You can look at other people and see what they're charging and kind of follow along that, or you can go per page, per 1,000 words. Certain details that you have to charge by, say if it's something that's specifically erotic that we'll just say like it's butt play or something that you can charge a little bit more, or alien porn, something that's not really in your niche that you can charge extra for.
Right. And so again, it comes back to great communications. Some other things you need to obviously keep in mind: time frame. If you're loaded, you can't take it, or you can't take that extra work. Mm-hmm. When can you deliver by? When do they need it? Word count. These are all really important things to ask.
Right. You don't forget that you're going to want to try to keep a constant atmosphere with your client. You're going to want to keep talking to them. You're going to keep asking questions and, give them a little assurance that you're actually working on this. The best thing that I do is I take a screen cap from my computer of how many words I've written so far, and I'll send that to them as sort of like a, hey, this is what I'm writing. Don't worry, it's getting done. And we'll go back to know your limits. Depending on how good you are at writing or how fast you can pump these out, know your comfort zones.
Right, exactly. So, and speaking of word count, how do you recommend pricing per page word? Like, how would you recommend it? The ultimate setup, basically, based on your experience. Like, what do you feel is the best way to go about doing that?
Based on my experience, when you talk to the client, you kind of ask about how much they're wanting, how much detail they're wanting, what kind of things they are, and you kind of just like go based off of that. You're saying, well, about 15 pages, I can charge you maybe this much if you're wanting this much content. Right. It boils down to the content you're willing to give. So yeah.
And of course, how quickly. Usually, and this is something that I recommend, to any sort of ghostwriting, freelance work, this sort of thing. What you want to do is, the sooner they want it, the more you can charge. Like, absolutely. If they're wanting it like if they're wanting a 12-hour turnaround, they're wanting a 24-hour turnaround, you need to charge a premium. And whenever I was first talking to Miss Likens, she was sort of telling me what she first did when she started, and I'm looking at her and going, I'm like, man, you undercharged heavily.
I did at the time. I wasn't aware. I kind of went in dumb and blind, and I just sort of set my own prices, and I didn't look for more leads, or I didn't look for what other people were doing until I actually started, going into that. I'm like, oh my God, people are really, like, I'm putting so much work into this, and I could be charging so much more, so I did.
Right, right. Okay, and we're going to cover a little bit of that here, a little bit more of that here in just a minute, but speaking of leads, we could have added a ton of bullets to this, but we wanted to keep this section a little short. You always try to ask your clients if there's anyone else. Do you know of anyone else?
Absolutely. I cannot stress that enough. This is how you're going to open your market a little bit more. This is how you're going to get more clientele. These people, specifically that you're talking to, they have friends that might like relative sources. They all enjoy the same thing. So yeah, even if they don't, you at least put yourself out there for more business.
Yep. Okay, cool. And then I also wanted to say, guys, that before we move on to more of the writing part, writing erotica, we're getting into that in just a second. You need to collect these people. I've hounded everyone about this, It doesn't matter what niche or genre that you are working in, you need to collect these leads. You need to get their email addresses if you can. And you don't necessarily have to have an autoresponder or Aweber or GetResponse or something like that. Just be sure that you keep these people around, because what's happening is once you build up your clientele, you're going to want to run specials, Christmas specials. You're doing or maybe a special type of genre. You do a special each month where you write a specific genre,
right,
or a particular type of erotica, and you want to email these people and say, hey, for this month I'm doing a special on this, and people will come back. What I've understand is from someone who's done this, you've got two types of people who are going to be purchasing from you. You're going to have the people who just simply want to get off on it.
Right.
And then you're going to have the people who are more business oriented, and what they're going to want to do is they want to turn around and produce it and sell it themselves from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
So you have two types. The people that are going to sort of want to keep coming back to you, are especially the ones that are doing it as a business. And just she told me, Miss Likens told me her experience, and then whenever I was looking through DeviantArt myself, and I was looking through all these posts, I realized that there was a lot of people who were purchasing these and then turning around and adding it to a repertoire that they were also selling. And so those people are prime targets to get them coming back to you.
Yeah, they want that material. And, guys, make sure you have fun with this. Make your own stories if you want. Give them a little taste of something. And have it as a freebie. Like, hey, here's a little, thing.
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant idea. Write up, this is primarily in the context of fan fiction, but have your own material. And as what she said, it's brilliant. Whenever you give them the final document, also give them your sampling of that's original material, because especially
absolutely.
those business people are going to want to come back to you, and that will sort of can end up being a big chunk of your bread and butter. And then of course in the Q&A video we talked a lot about potentially hooking up with artists from DeviantArt to increase your selling value and that sort of thing. And that's, again, these artists can turn around and bring you more business. You sort of get into a deal where you send business to them and they send business to you.
Oh, absolutely. They want graphic material, some of these people, and they're willing to pay the full amount of that.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, anyway, that's enough of that. We just wanted to make sure that we covered some of these things, again, simply because we wanted to emphasize the importance of a lot of this, especially when we're talking about the business aspect. And how you grow it and do those sort of things. But what we're going to do now, we're going to sort of get into writing erotica. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you we're going to talk about some of these questions. We're going to give you a template that you guys can follow, and we're going to go through the template. And then, as I said, what we're going to end up doing is a sort of a role play scenario where I'm a client, and we're going to sit down and plot. And I know you guys have been through a lot of my classes. That's basically the most fun part of all of these, is sitting down and plotting something out. So, all right, well, let's talk about some of these questions. Some of them are fairly obvious. These are questions that you're going to want to ask the client If they're not, if a client comes to you and says, hey, I want, I want a smut story about, Captain Kirk.
Right.
And
vagueness is not appreciated. We cannot be vague with these people. They cannot be vague with us. We need to get specifics. That's what it really boils down to.
Yep. And so some of these, I know you might be thinking, oh, well, it's obvious, but see, the thing is it not? If you've got Captain Kirk and then you've got Dumbledore, right? So you've got, they want a story, about Kirk and Dumbledore. Well, now you have two universes. Which one do they want it set in? Are you going to do some, you're going to do some sort of a wormhole to the Middle Earth, or are you going to, is Gandalf accidentally teleporting himself aboard the Enterprise? What happens?
And the nice thing about most of these clients, they really care about how the story of them two get tied together. That's their main concern. How it happens, not so much relevant. There's very few clients that are like, no, it has to happen this way. And if you get that, honestly, it's a little bit easier because you can kind of just lead on that. But some of these clients are like, no, I've seen your work and I enjoy what you write, so basically just have fun with it.
Right.
It just know your characters, know how to implement them into each other's universes, that sort of thing.
Right, and we're looking at all these questions right here, and that's probably the one that would trip people up the most. How are you going to tie different characters together from completely different universes where two different laws of physics, and maybe one has magic, the other has technology?
Right.
And so it's like kind of like what we said. You've got like this wormhole or whatever. And
right.
And as lame as that sounds, as TV tropey and cliche as that might be, well, whatever. They really don't care a whole lot.
This is erotic fan fiction. You always have to keep in mind. You're not trying to put your immensely best work. You're trying to help someone achieve something that
getting
they need
off
from you. Absolutely.
They're just trying to help people get off. And so, but you do have to have that. As weird as that sounds, and at first, whenever I first heard about this, I was like, well, just write sex scene between Gandalf and Captain Kirk, whatever. Like, and she's like, no. And she's like, I know that sounds logical, but a majority of these readers really do want an excuse.
Right.
To have them together. It feels when they're reading it, they want to immerse themselves in it. And so having that stupid wormhole crash land the Enterprise in Middle Earth.
They love that. They eat it up. Like, they absolutely love it. They have to come to you for this need because they have nowhere else to go. And
right.
That's what it boils. They can't do this themselves.
Right. Well, yeah. None of these clients, if they were writers, they would be doing it themselves.
Absolutely.
That would be the thing. Okay. So let's see. Obviously these are good questions. What research do I need to do? Research. Well, let's talk for a moment about. You wrote a lot personally. You wrote a lot of. You've told me like more horror or. Sort of a scary or darker stuff like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, so from those sort of video game movie franchise.
Absolutely.
So if someone came to you and been like, oh, write this, you didn't have to do any research. That was really easy.
Oh, yeah, because I would literally post things that I'm comfortable writing with, and it's a field I enjoy immensely. However, I did get clients that are like, hey, can you write this sci-fi story or the fantasy? And I'm like, oh, I really don't know that. So I go and I research the characters, or the clients will actually sometimes nicely give you the research themselves. They're like, hey, look into this book or look into that. And yeah.
Yep, and this is something to keep in mind. If they do not have any research for you, that is a way for you, again, to increase your asking prices. Oh, you want me to write in this universe? Guess what? I don't know much about it. I'm totally willing to do it, but I'm going to have to take some time to research some of this. We joked yesterday about, you might have to go literally rent a movie, some B movie that they're wanting it and you've never heard of it before, and so you got to spend 2 hours watching a movie, which actually might not be that bad.
Oh, you meant a B-rated movie. I thought you meant like the B movie.
No. I was meaning like a B-class movie, like not a AAA production. No. I'm talking about like something to be on Mystery Science Theater.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So yeah. So if you have to go and watch that, you're going to charge more for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now that we got that cleared up, how will the story progress? Again, this is erotica, but so yeah, it's all about the sex, but the sex just can't come out of left field.
Exactly.
How long should I make this? We kind of talked about that in the previous slide. Who is the main character? This is actually really important, again, because if you're having And you will get, I'm assuming you will get a lot of this. You will get a lot of mixed universes here where you'll have two characters.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just can't have that. People can't find that anywhere. So this is really critical, is to find out who the main character is and what point of view you're writing from. Mm-hmm. Okay. So just make sure you keep these questions in mind before you start writing. And I know some of this might seem obvious, but you would be surprised when you're starting off how vague most of your clients will be. They have a picture in your mind, and then this is the way it works with clients anyway. It doesn't matter what business you're in.
Because they feel like they're trying to be nice sometimes. They don't want to ask.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're a bit of, oh, well, she's the author, he's the author. I need to respect their artistic license. But the problem is if you deliver something to them that they're just not expecting or wanting.
Right, and it's going against your own name. It was at this point, it's alternatively your fault for not going and pushing yourself a little bit.
Right, indeed. Okay, so with that all said, let's go ahead and talk about a generic templates that you guys can follow, and this is what we're going to follow whenever we do our little role play session here in just a minute. So if you just want to walk us through really briefly sort of what these all are.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be fine.
Okay, so intro to characters.
Right, this is typically going to be the beginning of what you're writing. Either it can be from one character's point of view or both. It's really up to you and the client how you're going to want to tie this together. Scene 2, that's going to be how they interact. And if you aren't really familiar with this, you can either go and read erotica or go and read a romance to see how that sort of builds, because you're going to want different sources for your own information.
Right.
Scene 3 is you're going to create a plot. This can be, some clients will ask for not just two characters, but multiples. They can, desire an orgy, what have you, what they want with this.
Right.
What are they going? What are they doing, etc. It's not just going to be about sex. This is the point where you're moving towards that slowly. It's a slow build. Like, you're not just going to race there. They want that implement of, like, oh, these characters, what are they doing? What are they talking about? Do they have any relevance to what they actually are? And how would they tie these together?
Okay, cool. All right. Scene 4. This looks like scene 4 is literally the sex scene.
Yeah, absolutely. That is just cut your nitty-gritty sex,
right?
Your climax or your build. Scene 4 and, these
sort of scene 5, it looks like.
They can go a little bit together.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It basically, how are you going to tie these together? Are you going to continue? Do they want more? And it also boils down to content as well, or how much are you going to write for them? Right,
and that was a question I was going to bring up here in just a second. And then, of course, finally, scene 6, the ending. Now, when we were talking about this yesterday, you could theoretically leave in a cliffhanger.
Oh, absolutely. I would recommend it. If they're just wanting they're not really going to tell you if they want a one-time buy. And don't ever say, is this a one-time buy? You want to keep them open-minded as much as possible. So yeah, leave a cliffhanger. Give them a little bit and be like, oh wow, I really enjoyed this so-and-so. Do you have any more? Because this ending was so, wow, it blew my mind. Such a cliffhanger.
Right, awesome. Okay, well, I wanted to, you mentioned length here. Let's sort of talk about, because I know that a lot of people, they're going to watch this and they'll go, okay, I've got a job about 5,000 words. How much time would you spend? So you have a limited amount, 5,000 to 6,000 words. How would you sort of break this up? I mean, I know it's difficult to say, well, word count, this one has to be 500 and this one has to be 1,000 and this one has to be 500. But how much length would you say on average that you would put into each one of these? Like, what would you put the most time in, or the largest amount of word count into these scenes?
Honestly, scene 3 and 4 are like really what you're going to, if it's like a long stretch, that's what you're going to try to stretch out the longest.
Okay, so I'm just going to pull this out of my ass here. Scene 1, I'm just going to say 300 to 500 words. I'm talking about a 5,000 word.
Right.
Okay, so 300 to 500 words, the introduction, short. The thing is, of course, your clients are typically obviously going to be familiar with the universe. As I said, if it's Star Trek, Captain Kirk, and I just keep bringing that up because I'm a Star Trek fan.
Really?
Right. So obviously they're going to know who Kirk is. The only thing they really need is if they're, okay, Kirk's on the bridge of the Enterprise, and
start it like a scene like want to be relevant.
Captain's log, stardate, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they like that.
We're investigating this planet, and they've got weird green aliens with 3 boobies, and yeah, okay. So like 300 to 500 words introduction, because they already know this. And of course, if there's multiple universes, scene 2, maybe another 300 to 500 words introducing, say, the second character that's involved. So instead of, if it's in one universe, it goes down to the planet. Now you've got the 3-boobied green alien girl. It's showing it from maybe a bit of her perspective. Again, 300 to 500. So there's 1,000 out of the 5,000. Then you got scene 3 and scene 4. Scene 3 is the build-up, probably what, 1,500 words? If we're guessing.
You want people to just be like, oh, come on, are they going to do it? Like, what's going on? But you don't want to really super stretch that out unless it, again, boils down to the client. Do they want that? Do they want fast material, or do they want basically a graphic, They want porn. Yeah.
They want porn.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, so yeah, we're speaking in generalities here. And of course, scene 4, again, probably another 1,500 or 2,000 word, actually, because that's where the sex generally will happen. So probably about 2,000 words there. That brings it up to 4,500. And then scene 5 and 6, you basically sort of wrap up and leave your cliffhanger. And I felt that was really important to do, to say based upon a length, because I think that another thing that will trip people up is when they're going to do this, they'll be like, well, how much time really should I put into each one of these scenes? And 3 and 4, I mean, that's what they're there for.
Right.
Okay. So, all right. So what we really need to do, let's see, we're getting up to about half an hour now. So what we're going to do is, if you just give us a moment, we're going to switch over to a mind map, and we're going to move into the live intercourse.
Love that.
Right. It just works. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to pause the screen here in just a moment while we switch things over. And we're just gonna start developing a quick little story. Now, granted, we only have a half an hour. We're not gonna be able to do a complete plot, but we'll be able to do a complete plot. We obviously can't write out a full 5,000 word, thing
sorry,
here.
We can't pump that up.
Yeah, in half an hour, right? Exactly. So, all right. So, now we should be over here. You guys should see the screen. Give me a yes in the question box if you can see the screen. Make sure that we guys can see it. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ian. Excellent. So what we're going to do is we're just switching things back over here. We're just pulling this up so we can remember it. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Can you see it just fine?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to be the client. I'm going, and Ms. Likens is going to be the author here, and we're just going to work on, for the next half an hour, we're basically just going to create in shorthand, plot it out. We're going to write a story. So, all right, and I just want to say that, guys, we're talking this out, obviously, right here as an example. You won't, generally, you never got on the phone, you never got on Skype and did, really.
It's really rare. Most of these people are very secretive. They just kind of want to talk to you in a messenger, through emails, or through DeviantArt chat. They don't want to be seen.
Right. Well, and it's one of these things. It's why people love buying their porn off a Kindle. The word porn, because nobody sees them going into the library and walking out with a big old stack of smut there. Okay. So anyway, so we're just doing this as a just as sort of a live example. I just didn't want to give anybody the impression that this is how it will be done. It will primarily all be done via text. It'll be very rare that you'll actually have to ever talk to somebody. Okay, so I'm a client. I've approached her in the forum, and Miss Likens, I've read some of your material. I want you to write me a story.
Okay. What kind of story are you wanting developed? Are you wanting it primarily sex?
I primarily want an erotic romance. And I'm wanting it set in the, you know where I'm going with this. I want it set in the Star Trek universe. Oh, I know. I'm making it hard for her.
You really can't let that die, can you?
I'm not going to let it die. Okay, so I want something set in the Star Trek universe. I want Captain Picard as a character.
So we're going to go over here. It's wanting an erotic romance.
Now, I'm just letting you guys know, I'm literally, right now, just pulling this out of my ass. Like this is just so we can show the process that she's going to go to. So
And you're wanting Captain Kirk, right?
Picard, no,
Picard?
the bald-headed guy. Picard. Now I'm being hard on her. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys know I am being a bit hard on her.
Are you wanting this to be the main character?
Yes, the main character.
So you want it from his point of view?
Yes, sure. Why not? You know, obviously, I'm going to say right now, I'm not giving her an opportunity to go research. She's not much of a Star Trek watcher, so I will provide her with the research as we go along.
Okay. Subtopic.
Okay.
All right. Oh, who else are you wanting in the story?
I want Princess Leia.
You're horrible.
Right? I'm totally. I said I'm gonna be hard on you.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's close enough.
We'll say this.
Yeah. Whatever.
We don't have time.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. And how are you wanting these to tie together? Are you wanting these in the Star Trek universe? Are you wanting this in Star Wars? Are you wanting like your own?
Let's put it in Star Wars.
Star Wars. All right. All right. All right. And what kind of kinks are you interested in? Like, what would you like these characters to interact like?
I want a lot of anal. Her face is turning red. It's so cute.
Well, because I don't have people ask me this like verbally.
I know, right? This is normally dealt with over a forum. That's why it's funny. I told her I'm just giving her a hard time. Yeah. I really want just anal. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just strictly anal.
Just strictly anal.
All right. Not really that fun to find out. All right, so there's not going to be any other sexual tied in. We can move to this, but I mean.
Well, we could. I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, if we want to get really weird. I mean, you get Han Solo involved.
Okay, well, yeah, that's something I might have to charge for because this is another character that you're introducing.
Well, how much are you going to charge that?
Oh, that just depends on how much content you're wanting.
5,000 words.
5,000 words? Okay, well then we'll charge you X amount of dollars per 1,000 words.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
And
okay. This is fun. This is fun.
All right. So you want Han Solo?
Sure, Han Solo.
Perfect. All right. And are you interested in having any graphic art content?
Oh, you do graphic art?
Oh yeah, I have an artist that I know that can do that for you, no problem.
Well, why not? How much would that be?
Okay, well, I'll have to get with him and we can talk over prices right now, and then I'll let you know on that.
Okay.
How much art are you exactly wanting? Are you wanting like a
just like maybe 2 pictures.
Two pictures?
Just 2 pictures of the action.
The action in general. Okay, are you wanting all 3 of these? That needs to be a little bit more specific for me.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. Yeah. So I guess Captain Picard is into Princess Leia, and her and Captain Picard and Han Solo are. She's getting some DP.
Okay. So let me just kind of draw some lines here for my benefit. I don't know if any of you have actually...
Now, and again, in her defense, I'm going to say she normally doesn't work with a mind map. We're doing this strictly so you guys can just sort of see how it's built out. You would normally outline it, right? And I'm assuming that's how you would do it.
Yeah, I take a page and I kind of just put bullet points, and that's how I... Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool.
I'm a writer.
You're a writer, not an artist. She's right. She's an artiste. So let's scroll on down here.
Yeah, is there anything you don't want me to do? Is there anything that you're just like, please absolutely no, or please absolutely yes, add this content?
No, I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open.
You're open?
If you just have fun with it.
Oh, okay. So there's nothing really that you're like, oh, don't do that.
Oh no, I'm pretty just exciting. Oh, I guess avoid like her like pooping on him or something by accident.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I can cut that out. And I know that you said anal, but really, how graphic are you wanting this? Are you running like the really?
Well,
pretty...
this is more erotic romance. Really, I mean, anal's okay. Honestly, maybe it's just I'm wanting more of
I'm not trying
a little
to be
more
anal, but.
That's so funny. I would prefer to have it just a just something that's harder, and there's a little more aggression involved, and so it is fully consensual, but maybe more of a BDSM is what I'm actually wanting.
Okay. So we'll just put. Actually, I'll just put. Here we go. So basically, what I can assume here is that you want Princess Leia and Picard to have a romantic relationship. Maybe Han Solo gets in with it.
Yeah, like...
But these are the main people.
These are the main people. Yeah, Picard and Princess Leia, and then maybe, maybe at the end there, Han Solo gets involved some way. And beyond that, Miss Likens, I really don't know. I'm pretty open with anything that you can do. So.
Are you relatively new to this? Have you never asked anyone?
I've never asked anyone for this.
So this is your first interaction asking someone
You're popping my cherry.
Okay. All right. So I know that I don't want to make you any more uncomfortable. You seem really relaxed. However, usually I go about showing people a word count. Is there anything that you'd like so I can show you that I'm actually working on this? Is there anything that you need to add?
Just send me like whenever you're halfway done with it. Just send me a sample. Just
okay.
you don't. I understand that you can't. Maybe you don't want to show the full sex. So you can protect yourself, but you can at least show me a little bit of what you're doing halfway through.
Okay, and if you're wanting quite a bit of content here, what I can do is I can maybe send you half, leave a little cliffhanger so it doesn't give on too much, and I can accept payment through PayPal.
Perfect.
You can send me a half payment now, and then once I give it to you, I can give you the latter. You can tell me if you like it. I can change it.
Perfect.
I can leave the floor open for you.
Sounds great. So, and at this point, I would just send her the initial half that we agreed on, and then she would sort of get to work plotting this out. And so I guess let's just take this little thing and just quickly plot it out using what we just had, the generic scenes. So, scene 1, introduction.
Right. Can I put that as a main topic?
Yep, just go ahead and put it as a main topic. This is how I usually do it whenever we do this stuff. So,
wow, there we go. Using.
So, how would you, if you were writing this for real, how would you go about introducing the two?
Okay, and as you mentioned before, you wanted to take place in the Star Wars universe.
Right, and as I said, now we're not really having a conversation here. She would be going off, and I'm going to supply her with some research. So anytime if you get some confused or something, just ask me, and we'll just pretend that you went and did the research.
Okay, yeah,
since you're not terribly familiar with Star Trek.
Right. Okay, so we're taking place in the
Star Wars universe, yes.
So Princess Leia, the setting, what can we do? Where would she be?
So guys, here's what I think what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna help her brainstorm because we all like this. I enjoy sort of this crowd writing thing. I think if I were writing this, I would she was aboard the Death Star.
Oh yeah, that's good. Oh yeah. Okay.
So she's already captured aboard the Death Star.
Princess Leia / Death Star. All right, start. Wow.
That's all right. We're both on it today. Okay, so and then I don't know. Maybe like we could do where so she's on the Death Star, and okay, well now we got to figure out how would the Enterprise get there?
Right.
Because it would need to get there somehow.
Well, I mean, they're always jumping through space.
Right.
Constantly.
And so some background about Star Trek. Star Trek uses a lot of various technologies. They have transporter technology. They also have specialized warp technology. And in a lot of the previous episodes, or especially the original series, there's a lot of specific time travel-y things that Kirk would do. So what I would do, again, if I was writing this, I'm just thinking here at the top of my head, some sort of malfunction happens aboard the Enterprise and sends them into a galaxy far, far away. You could even set it in this universe, George Lucas.
I mean, yeah, it's the universe. It's limitless. You can literally go to
wherever.
So this is
galaxy,
easy because they're both technically in space.
And in a galaxy far, far away. So I would just say that there was a malfunction aboard the Enterprise, and you know, it engaged the warp drive, and the Enterprise ends up shortly before the Millennium Falcon gets to the Death Star, so they're right there.
Right, they've jumped and boom, Death Star. Now how are these characters going to interact? And then we kind of just say, oh well, Picard's like, where are we?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Where are we? What's going on? Of course, he asks. You know, he had asked Data, and you know, Data's like, oh, we're Captain. According to our star charts, we're like, you know, 50 bazillion light years away. And he's gonna be like, oh my god. And then he's like, what's that? You know. And this is how a Star Trek episode would go. So, you know, Data's like, well, we're analyzing this, and Riker's like, that's the size of a moon, you know. Here we go, playing off the Star Wars, Star Trek thing.
Yeah, they would enjoy that immensely, I believe.
I probably would. He's like, and then, you know, Data would be like, that's no moon, that's a space station. Like, you know, like, and then, of course, the Millennium Falcon blasts in, you know, right after Alderaan has been blown up, and then Data's, you know, scanning and be like, oh, the Captain, this asteroid field is, it's a, you know, it has residual biological signs on it. This was freshly destroyed. Also, judging by the energy output, that's actually a weapon of mass destruction. And then, of course, you know, they sense the. This is just my mind's going crazy.
No,
Sorry, I'm just taking this over. Sorry, I'm just imagining this now. So they like, you know, the Millennium Falcon just bursts in. The Enterprise communicates with them. They destroy the TIE fighter that you know, that they chase, and you know, they somehow all meet, and then Luke Skywalker maybe convinces Picard and the Enterprise to help rescue. You know, and of course Picard, being the moral man that he is,
it's like, see someone in need. That's his thing. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's how I would do. So that's sort of the introduction. So now we got to set up a plot a little. So that would be the next bullet, right?
Right.
Okay. Oh, you're hitting insert instead of, there you go. You want to hit insert now.
Insert?
Yep, there you go. So this would, we're sort of setting stuff up more. So I would say Picard and them all go aboard the Death Star. And this is going to be real cheesy. This sounds real ridiculously cheesy. But you know what? It's going to happen, right? They're going to get there, and Picard's going to see Leia, and it's going to be love at first sight. Ridiculous, I know, because that's totally out of character of Picard. Here's the funny thing, like, I mean, it's out of character, but it's really what me as a client I was asking for.
Right, exactly. And honestly, everyone, make sure that you're having these interactions. Maybe these clients actually have what Rob is talking about, their own story and how they want things to go. So just jot down notes, take as much information as you can, because maybe they even have a story set that they want you to follow.
Exactly. And with that in mind, actually, I do want to say that there is comic books that do have Star Trek, Star Wars crossover. And for something like this would be great source material in which you can go and read and see how they sort of dealt with this. Now, granted, it's romantic, or it's erotica, so there's going to be kind of a giggly ridiculousness to it, but it is what it is. So they fall in love. She gets rescued because, of course, she feels the same thing, right?
Right, and you guys can also go into more detail. We're just kind of throwing it out there to give you a better idea
of how we would plot this.
Normally, you can go under each one and be like, okay, well, how did they fall in love? How did they, what was the spark? And kind of play off that romance and draw it out a little bit.
Right. So obviously we're getting into scene 3, 4. We're gonna have to. We're starting to run out of time here. So we're getting into scene 3, 4. That's where, of course, you would write your sex scene. So you know, I would say Leia's back on the Enterprise. You know, along with Han Solo. Of course, Han Solo's in love with her as well.
And would you want these to have a threesome? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sort of suggesting that.
Heavily suggested.
Heavily suggested. Yes.
All right. And then you can kind of go into play with that. Why did they get involved? Why is Picard letting this happen? Like,
Right. Why is he sacrificing his morals for this? This is a different not different universe, this is a different galaxy. Like, he's bazillion of miles away from home. So this would actually be really great to play. So I would say, and just from my own experience writing things, this would be an emotional, and it would really pull in the reader. This is like Picard would go through a little bit of a turmoil here. He's so attracted to her that you would have a bit, maybe even just a little bit of monologue where he's sort of like frustrated that he can't do that.
Friction between Solo.
And of course, yeah, friction between. This is really funny, guys. Hate sex, hate gay sex, of course, is what it would kind of sort of be. Threesome, and then two guys and a girl, and they end up having hate because they hate each other because they're both after Leia. And again, as ridiculous as that sounds, people wanted that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and then again, we would get to scene 4 and 5 and 6 and sort of just wrap it up and do that sort of thing. But we just want to sort of cover like what our interaction would be. We want to kind of give you guys, sort of an example of this. And so what we'll do here is I'll get ready. We'll take some questions from you guys, and then yeah, as soon as the webinar is over, we'll go ahead and clean up the plot a little bit to make it a little easier for you guys to read. And then we'll also upload the plot and the slides from this class as well.
Right.
There at the on the download page. So if you got questions, let's pop them into the question box here. Any questions we got? Okay, Isabel. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go into that. If you would like, though, if you just send us an email at support. Here, let me just send you that support address, and we can get to you individually because we don't have a lot of time here. So, .zendesk.com. Okay, Ian. Yes, let's talk about that. Concern with copyright trademark with Star Trek, Star Wars. This is where if you there we go. This is where what you would want to do is after you discuss this, Miss Likens would be like, okay, just to let you know that I, in order not to violate copyright and trademark laws, I'm going to have to change the names of the characters and the specific. So, for example, we couldn't call it the Enterprise. We'd have to call it maybe,
or not even mention the Enterprise whatsoever. You can kind of just say the spaceship.
The ship, and then you could, the Death Star, of course, you wouldn't call it Death Star. You might call it, Death Ray. And in the implication, you would inform your client, and you'd be like, okay, you're going to know what this is, but because I can't be, I do not want to be liable for possible lawsuits because, I'm charging money, the names and stuff will be changed. I'm going to send you an editable document you can edit, so you can go ahead and feel free to change all of that stuff back.
Right.
And it's really super simple to do. You just do a Control F, you find all the stuff, you retype in the proper names, and you can do that. There is also a thing, too, where you would probably want to get them to sign a, unless they're, probably want to get them to sign a non-disclosure agreement where if they fully intend on this to be full universe, that they are not allowed to sell it, and that you yourself are not liable for if they decide to sell it and they've decided to violate copyright or trademark, that you are not liable for that. That was their decision to change the names back, and then they're there to distribute it.
Right.
Yep.
This isn't a mass production. You're not really using labels of their names to sell a product. You're selling a fan fiction.
Right. And
if
so
you label it as a fan fiction, that kind of gives you a little accreditation as like no one can really come after you for that.
Right. So that's what I would do, Ian, and just you would just change names. And even if you struggle, writing it because you're trying to keep the names straight, I would just make a list of the names that you're changing and then write it as is, as it's supposed to be, and then just do, as I said, a Control F, go back through, find the proper names, the trademark names.
Also, leave a full disclosure. Be like, this is a fan fiction, yada yada yada. These are
right. Put that also in there. That this is intended not to reflect on the the universes in which the copyright holders, blah blah blah. So you can do that. Let's say 3 things: change the name so you're in the clear. Let the client know that you are not you're not going to that they're not allowed to go out and just start selling this unless if that's what they want to do. And this is something you do need to ask. If they're wanting that, then you're going to have to work with them to make sure that you produce material that can be sold, which means, you know, it's going to have to lose some of its fan fictionness, because you can't turn around and sell Star Trek, you know, on the market, because it's owned by, you know, Paramount and stuff. So
I've never had that question asked, which I guess I can count myself lucky. Usually these people, they want your content, they want to pay you, and they just want to
get off.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what all these people are doing. But that is a good question, Ian, because, you know, a lot of companies, you know, will you know, they'll hire people to go in and pretend. They could potentially do this, who pretend to act like a client just so they can catch people. So that is the way to make yourself free and clear. It makes you legal. Now, granted, as I said, none of us here are lawyers. You obviously want to make sure that this is just a legal disclaimer. We're not giving legal advice here, okay?
No.
We're not giving legal advice. So make sure you talk to a lawyer to make sure, you know, before you really get into this. But with that said, people do this, have been doing this for years. The only legal battles that ever happened that we know of was J.K. Rowling actually did sue but it was the owner of a site that distributed for pay Harry Potter material that was unlicensed, and it was not she did not give permission for it, and they sued the site. They didn't sue the authors, they sued the site. The site got taken down. But that's the only known. Whenever I was doing research to make sure this was legal, then there was no legal problems. That was the only legal thing that had ever happened. But that is a good question, Ian, and it's a good thing to keep in mind. All right, so just change the names, provide disclaimers, and make sure that the people agree that they're not to distribute it, and then you should be in the clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I have zero problems with any of this.
Yeah, yeah. All right, was there any other questions, guys? Any other questions?
Board is open.
Indeed. We got a couple minutes left. Yeah, so while they're typing in their final questions, but oh, that's a good question.
Client stalking.
Oh, you're fine, Charles. You're fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Stalking. No, I personally haven't had any issues, and any other fan fiction writers that I know, these clients are pretty relaxed, pretty nice people. You have to understand, if you're going to these websites, these are people that are a community. They all talk to each other. They're pretty vanilla, you know, like they like some pretty weird stuff, but then themselves as people, they're kind of like your stay-at-home kind of nerds on the computer all the time, you know, me. So
right. Well, and the other thing is too, is that you've got, because, you know, you're on, for example, DeviantArt, you know, you'd use a pseudonym.
Yeah, don't link your Facebook. Do not link them to any social media that you have family, friends. You know, keep yourself safe.
And just like any other business, I would say get a business PayPal account, and then have, you know, have it linked to maybe say a P.O. box or a pseudonym doing business as. I mean, really, if people want to find you, they can. But at the very least, you make it slightly more difficult for them to do so. And not only that, you know, most of these people, that's the thing, though, they don't want people knowing their kinks.
Right.
That's why they're anonymous. So, but that's a really good question, though. Yeah. So, yeah. So, fortunately, though, everybody that we've talked to and we've seen doesn't really seem to have a problem with stalking.
No, they're all very, very sweet. Like, my clients are very sweet people. I've hardly ever had anyone, I don't know, even have an uproar or be angry with me.
Right. And that's the great thing, too, is you're not going to deal with, like, say, you know, a ton of refunds and stuff. Really what's going to happen generally is they're going to come back and say, I didn't like this section. Could you give me a quick rewrite or something on that?
Right, and you kind of save yourself. You know, you tell them, I gave you a product and you paid for it. That's the end. Like, there is no more that we can really do with that. And it's kind of nice, you know, because if you give that disclaimer, they automatically know that you're in the clear.
Right.
You save yourself as a writer.
For sure. Cool. Well, if there's no other, further use, so do I need to get tax ID with the business? Well, Charles, you should probably just, as far as business setup is concerned, you should probably do that anyway. You need a business PayPal account, just because PayPal will require, if you just have a personal PayPal account, you have a max limit to the amount of money you can get a month, and it's not very much. It's like maybe $1,000 or something. You know, if you're going to do this serious, if you're going to do other things, if you're going to expand this maybe into other ghostwriting things, you know, that could grow pretty quick.
Yeah, DeviantArt has its own like system as well as far as money. It can be converted into your PayPal as well.
Right. So as far as tax ID, no, you can do this as just sort of a DBA, or you don't have to set up an LLC. You don't have to set up anything like that.
Nope.
You didn't do any of that.
No.
No. So it was just your business PayPal account. You just had your Social Security number. And they just reported at tax time, and that was it.
Yep.
Simple, straightforward.
Very clean and easy.
Yep. Cool. All right, guys. These are actually cool. These are good questions.
You're
good
welcome.
Questions. You're welcome, Charles. Well, guys, if there's nothing else, we're going to call it a day. I really enjoyed doing this. I always love doing these plots. I always love, you know, teaching this sort of stuff. It's so much fun. I've learned to smile a lot myself. I'm probably going to be giving this a huge try. I like the idea of writing quick and easy and getting it up there and doing that. So I'm going to be diving in. And thank you so much, Ms. Likens, for teaching us and for showing me all of this stuff. I've been super impressed by everything that you've done. So
thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you giving me your time. Yeah, so thank you guys.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, with that all said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And as I said, we will have the recording and the replay available shortly. It might take about an hour to process, and then I got to upload it. And then once that's done, I will send an email out to everybody that it's available. So be looking out for that within the next 24 hours. So thanks again. Everyone have a great evening.
See you later.